Hey Buddha family, so today I'm going to give you some tips on planting some perennials in your garden, and I'm going to combine it with my perennial spotlight for the week, the Pistachio Hydrangea. It's going to blow your mind. So let's get to it. As you can see behind me, here's where I'm going to be planting them in the grass. Why in the grass? Because I have no more room and grass is boring, so I'm getting rid of it. We're going to plant more flowers. So first thing I got to do is scrape off the grass and dig my hole. So now I got to dig out the hole and get it ready for the perennial. And typically my rule of thumb is whatever the pot size you're planting is, I'll go at least 1.5 times deeper and 1.5 times wider. And I'll show you why in a bit, but it's pretty important than just digging an exact hole the size of this pot. And par for the course, we got Murphy's Law here. All this grass. I hit a monster boulder. But it is what it is. You gotta get it out. Ooh. So, yeah, just that bird in my lawn. Ooh. All right, I think that's gonna do it for the first hole. So let me bring you in and show you a couple things. So here you can see that the reason I like to go 50% deeper and wider than the size of the pot is because when you dig a hole, typically the ground is very compacted. So those first roots can sometimes have a hard time puncturing into this compacted dirt. So what you do is you dig it deeper, and then the layer at the bottom is nice and soft from you breaking it all up. Then when I put the pot back in, I'll backfill with all the dirt that I dug out, and it'll be soft all around the sides and the bottom. So when the first roots start to shoot out from the pot, they have a very easy time getting established in its new habitat. And then once they're established, they can puncture through this no problem. And they probably could anyway. It just might take them a little bit longer, and it's a pretty easy thing to do to help your plant out. We got our hole dug. We'll take our perennial, and I'll put my hand right over the stem and the roots, and I'll tip this upside down above the ground, and just do that a few times, and usually they'll slip right out. You always want to check, see if it's root bound. This one is not, but if it was, you kind of just break these roots up with your hands. But this one is good to go. I'm just going to drop it in. What's the right level? I like to go about an inch or two lower than the ground, and that way when you water, especially early on to get it established, there's a little valley where all the water can pool and really drain down and soak these roots. Whereas if you put it level or even higher, a little water and it'll just run off into your grass or your landscape mulch. Now that I have this positioned, I'm just going to backfill with all the soil that I put in my wheelbarrow. And just like that, we've got a new perennial that's going to last us our lifetime. So let me show you how cool this is. Here we have our Pistachio Hydrangea, my favorite hydrangea. Look at those colors. It's got the red and the green, this pistachio, and then it gets this bluish flower. Goes through all different colors. Really, I've seen a lot of hydrangeas, and the pistachio is by far my favorite. They are just so unique. So you can see, wow, it's really far away from the fence. This is a pretty common mistake in that people will often put them closer because it looks funny. But you got to think how big this hydrangea is going to get. So in a few years, when this is 3 feet wide, it has plenty of room to grow near the fence, not push up against it. I'll have plenty of room. So it's going to look funny for a year or two, but in the long term, this is how you want it. You can see the level of the grass is a little bit higher. So now when I water, this will all pool up with water and really drench these roots. Another trick you can do is take your perennial out of the pot first, and then you have this pot as kind of a scale so you can know how deep and big to make your hole. And this is almost perfect right here. I got lucky on this one. So here you can see we have our hole, We have that hard ground. It's hard for the new roots to get into, but we made it plenty wide so it'll fill in with the soft soil. Already at the bottom here, you can tell, dig up, that's all soft soil. Very easy for the roots to get into. We'll break up the bottom a little bit, sink her in the center, and then we can fill around with that soft soil from our wheelbarrow. And there we have it. Again, our hydrangea is about an inch lower than the grass level, so the water is going to pool up. The soil is all soft and broken up, so it'll drain right through this, hit those roots, and this thing will be rooted within a few days to a week, ready to go. So another important thing is that when you first plant perennials, you're going to want to water them almost daily if it's hot, for at least a week. Then you can go to every other day for another week, and that way we really make sure the roots get established, and then Mother Nature will do the rest from there. And here we have our two beautiful pistachio hydrangeas. So let me bring you in. So just to recap a few things when you're planting your perennials, make sure you leave enough room between other perennials and structures such as a house or your fence so that they have room to grow without running into other stuff. You're going to want to dig the hole about 50% deeper and bigger than the actual pot. And that way a lot of the soil on the bottom and around the sides is soft for those new roots to really get established. And finally plant it about an inch deeper than the existing ground level. And that way when you water, it will pool up and soak right through all that loosened soil you just did and really drench those roots and help them get established. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. If not for nothing, check out the Pistachio Hydrangea. Literally my favorite hydrangea ever exist.